I think I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask Julie, who's not here. So who's our substitute secretary? This thing was our last secretary. So do we have a quorum?
We do.
We do have a quorum.
We do have a quorum.
We're good there. The first order of business is approving the July meeting minutes. We've all had a chance to look at those, and so I'd like to ask somebody to make a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion.
All right, Jen makes the motion.
Approve the minutes.
And a second?
We all, yep.
We have a second? Rick seconded.
Rick second.
I'm saying that Rick seconded.
Second.
And all in favor?
All.
Aye? There we go. Unanimous. Okay. As far as votes that we've taken since the last meeting electronically, we approved the Rockwall Hospitality Group design concepts for all the work that they're going to be doing in the building here. So they're going to be kind of refurbishing the bars, and obviously they're going to totally redo the kitchen, and just some of the, they're going to replace furniture and that sort of thing. So they gave us a whole packet of the design ideas that they have for what they're going to do here. We had a chance to look at it. We approved that. They're going to town, so all good there. We also approved funding a reserve study, so we'll be doing that probably late this month. And hopefully we'll find out how low we are on reserves. We know we're low, but we'll find out how low. And that brings me to my president's update. So, as I mentioned, Rockwall Hospitality is moving quick. They're getting things done. They've cleared out the kitchen of all the equipment that they don't want to use. So that remodel's well underway. The contents of the building, they're deciding and we're deciding whether they're going to keep, throw away, repurpose, that sort of thing. We may sell some stuff, but we're kind of making those decisions on the fly right now. But we do know that all of the outdoor furniture they're going to replace. So there's going to be nicer furniture for the outdoor spaces. Another thing that they want to do is involve the community in what they're doing with the club. So one of the things they want to do is, the flags that are posted, all the little yacht club flags that are posted all around the restaurant, kind of up high. They want to take those and mount them individually on some sort of frame or something, and then use them throughout the yacht club as decor, so that everyone gets to see those flags up close. Right now you can't really see them. There's a little plaque that shows, I think, who donated the flag.
Yes.
And so that will go with the flag, and everyone will see where these flags. There's flags from the Annapolis Yacht Club. There's flags from all over the place, and it's really kind of cool. So they're going to take those. They want the community to be involved with making the frames and doing the whatever, putting them behind glass, whatever that might be. So there will be asking for some volunteers to, if you're a woodworker, or do I need to do that? Do I just need to eat the microphone? Okay. So we'll be asking for some volunteers. We're still kind of putting that project in place, so look for some announcements in that regard. They also want to do something at the front of the building on either side of the front door, those areas, the kind of seating areas, and they want to really make those nice and make those a place where people can, if they're coming to the restaurant, they can sit outside and have a drink, but they want to use the community resources, people that do landscape design or would volunteer to install landscape and put seating areas out there with tables and fire pits and that sort of thing. And so something that we can kind of do to have some ownership, of the yacht club. So those are two of the things that they want to do to involve the community with what they're doing with the building. Moving on, cell phone tower update. The latest thing that we're doing there is the board has asked the tower company to propose some location options. There's some resistance on the board to the identified location, the proposed location. So we're asking for other possible locations that the tower might go. So we're waiting on that. To me, it's more of a safety and a property value issue. I think that having cell coverage improves our safety. We'll have 911 for everybody in the neighborhood on their cell phone. And having strong cell coverage also will increase our property value. So that's kind of the two big issues for me. But, you know, we're moving forward, and hopefully we'll be able to get that in, or at least make a decision soon. Some of you may have been at the Novos Fiber meeting that we had last week. Was it last week? Was it this week? It's just all running together for me. Anyway, we had a fiber meeting in the ballroom with Novos Fiber, and they're proposing to bring high-speed fiber to the neighborhood. And you know, I'm personally impressed with their drive and their transparency. But they're a startup, so, and also the board is really obligated to look at all of our options. So I've been in touch with AT&T, and I'm talking to their fiber people. Actually, there was an idea, I think, posted on Town Square that AT&T has skipped Chandlers, and that's not true. They started south and are moving north. So it's just, we're actually, this neighborhood is on their radar for, you know, pretty soon to do an install. So we'll be talking with them, and they're going to come out and do a survey and et cetera, to look at the property and make sure that they can do what they want to do and make a proposal potentially. But we'll also be in touch with the other, I think Frontier does fiber in this neighborhood. There's a company called Optimum that does it as well. So we'll be looking at all of our options and hopefully getting the right company in here to give us high-speed internet. The next meeting is a meeting of the members. It's our annual meeting of the members with elections. I encourage everyone that wants to be involved, please run for the board. We have 3 open positions. Just, you know, either run for the board or vote.
Or both.
We're in this room today because of the remodel of the yacht club. The Rockwell Hospitality Group has a builder's risk insurance company that doesn't allow people in their space, you know, so we can't have these meetings up there. This one, all the doors are locked, so we're actually they're not doing work here, so we're good here. I hope we don't have to have the annual meeting here, but we may, so it might be a little crowded. But I did talk to them, and they said we'll make sure there's a place to have the meeting. It might be the ballroom. If they're finished enough with their remodel, we might be able to use the ballroom, but we'll see.
What's the date of it?
It's the 3rd Saturday every month. Yeah. And what is it?
20th, I believe.
The 20th?
21st
Is that, yeah, okay. Let's see. Yeah, so that's the president's update. I will. Oh, well, yeah. And if you're interested in running, then go to the front office and pick up the paperwork, or you can download it. I believe it's been posted on Town Square as well. Yeah, and all those dates are on there. And the deadlines. The deadline is for turning in your candidate forms is 2 weeks from today. All right, now that's my president's report. And I'll turn it over to not Seth Cullen, to Andrea Pixley. Seth is out of town today, so I'll turn it over to Andrea to do a treasurer's report.
Good morning, all. For those of you that were at the last board meeting, I think you may have remembered that we had a June statement that was not proper, and I needed to get with the CPAs and the MAC group, which is our accounting firm that does our statements and all of our cash receipts and payables and what have you. I did do that, and I received the corrected June statements. What happened, just so anybody that's interested, I had asked the MAC group to make sure that the CPA adjustments for 2023 were reflected on June, and rather than post them to December and have them reflected or in the proper months, they actually posted everything in June, so it really flipped our P&L. It was horribly misstated, which is now corrected. So provided the board approves both the June and the July, those will be posted in full on Monday. As a recap, I have the numbers for July here, and I'm gonna I don't like to read every single dollar. I just round up to the nearest thousand. I think it's easier for folks when they're taking notes. So in our operating cash account, we've got approximately $182,000. In our money market account, we have $322,000. And in our reserves account, $75,000. Now, if anyone who's been watching the budget or has a copy of the budget or looked at it knows that, I can just reiterate, that I have on the budget approximately $17,500 going into the reserves account each month. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet. And I spoke with Seth about that because we've got quite a bit of money in the money market. He and I are going to investigate opening a money market for the reserves account and putting approximately $90,000 additional in the next month. Once I have the bank account established, or at least identified which bank we're going to put that in, I'll bring it to the board as a vote, put it on an agenda, and move some of that money into the reserves account. By doing that, it protects some of our cash that must be used for reserves only, or we have to borrow against it. So a couple of the PCAMs that I've been speaking with, that Shelley also has gotten me in touch with, suggested that this is the best way to protect our reserves. And it'll be available for when we do some of our larger projects, which we've also put off. I had front-loaded that on the budget, and that's, again, why we have so much in cash reserves right now. But we are at a point where I believe we need to prioritize which large projects need to be done, and it should be, I'm hoping we can get a meeting and start doing that in the next month. Get the bids for the appropriate prioritized projects. Moving on, the loan balance from TYC, I know that hasn't been mentioned in a while, currently stands at $1,466,000. We do have, as far as bills that still need to be paid, about $12,000 to NCR, which was the point of sale computer program. That's about $12,000, and I have talked to Seth. We've decided that in the next month we want to pay that off. We'll need to borrow about $5,000 from CLCA and move it over to the TYC account. We were able to get some money back, and I want to thank James Wagner, if he's here today, for helping us return CO2 canisters and kegs, so we were able to get some money from deposits on those things, which was helpful and gave us a little bit of money to pay off some of these other things that we needed for TYC. I don't want to say that we're 100% clear on that. I've got, for the most part, all the statements from the vendors. I pushed back on some. It doesn't look like some are going to collect, but I don't know just yet completely. There is one vendor, a marketing vendor, who is looking for about $5,000, but I'm not sure that he's going to be successful. So just as a heads up there. Loan balance for B1 Bank is currently at $4,214,000. Year-to-date revenue, $1,460,000. Our operating expenses are $1,150,000, approximately. We've moved $30,000 into reserves, again, just mentioning that. Operating profit to date, just over $280,000. As far as delinquencies go, I think the last time I reported on delinquency was back in September. We had 49,000 that was over 30 days. That included 81 accounts for over 30 days, and only 37 were in the 0 to 30 bracket. Today, unfortunately, that delinquency balance has gone up to just under 70,000. However, the number of accounts has been reduced to 67, and 15 of them are in the 0 to 30. So basically, those larger accounts are aging, and part of that is because the MAC group has gone to and added legal fees, so that's part of why we increased some of that older stuff from 50 to basically 70,000. I'll be getting with the MAC group on that to address some of those things, see where they are as far as, are they on notice to lien, are they, demand letters, where are we in that process? Shelley and Kristen have been sending statements each month, in addition to what our MAC group does, and I'm hoping to make sure that we keep on those collections a little bit tighter in the future. Does the board have any questions on the financials?
No.
sorry, no?
No?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the June statements, and also, I don't know if I need to make a second motion for the July.
Move to approve both.
Okay, I move to approve both the June and the July, so we can get those posted.
I second.
For homeowners.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Where's the agenda? There it is. Yeah, so there's treasurers, and now we'll do maintenance.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Right now, we're just continuing to doing mowing. Mowing is getting slower just because nothing's growing. But also watering, we're trying to keep the islands alive with how much heat there is. So this week, they're also working on trimming some trees around the neighborhood, some street repairs. And when I say street repairs, there's some areas where the rebar is hooking up and through. I know there's some on Ranger that they're patching up. At some point this week, they also had to come down here and break down some of the furniture. I know one of the tables that was in the conference room over here, we had to break it down and bring it up to the front office, so it's up at the front office now. The pools, we did notice, or at least brought to our attention, that the small pool has a crack in some of the plaster. So at some point, we're gonna have to, I mean, it's just regular repairs, but I mean, we're gonna have to set something aside to make sure that gets fixed. And then this year, it was already brought to our attention by the city, but we need to change the drains on the big pool. So at some point, we're looking to maybe close the pools around late September. Is that right, late September? Late
The
September.
9th, actually.
Well,
Oh, we can get, I
and
didn't
it's
say.
Oh.
We had some discussion. It's just so darn hot. Usually we close around the 9th, but it's just so darn hot. And we talked with everyone, and Chuck and Shelley, and we're gonna push it back a bit. It's just so hot, and it gives someone relief to go down to the pool. So we're gonna push that back a bit. But like I said, we need to change out the drains in the big pool. Every 10 years you have to do that. And so once we close down the pools, that will be something that we're gonna need to do. They've been working on some irrigation systems around the neighborhood. The Columbia Island wasn't working properly, so they had to change the program. They put a new controller in and have it set up properly. I know the marquee, the water wasn't working around the marquee to water the plants, and so it was a GFI that was tripped, and so they fixed that, so it's working again. I know there's one more they're still needing to work on. It's down by Harbor Landing. It's on the list to do. Also, next week, they're gonna be working on Cutter Hill. We're gonna have to rebuild the fence around the dumpster, and then I know there's a lot of problems with the concrete around the dumpster. And then another one probably y'all don't know about, but we're having trouble with the one of the F-150's transmissions, so it's gonna need to go into the shop this coming week. But again, there's still, sadly, we are still cleaning up debris around the neighborhood from the storm. There's just so much of it. This is just a nonstop issue, nonstop problem. So they've been picking up brush piles everywhere, Columbia, behind Mallard's Pond. It's just an ongoing issue. So just know they're still working on that and fitting it in where they can. And that's it.
We were talking a lot about irrigation and so forth around the properties in Chandlers. What about the pump out house here on the lake that provides irrigation to the club? Have we ever gotten that working yet?
So that's something. That's something that was looked into. I don't know where we're at on that.
Well, no, I don't have information, but please bring that up during the owners forum and we'll have a discussion about it. But we're just trying to do board business right now. But that's a great question. Thank you. Lisa, you're up.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, I'm a little hoarse today. We know there's some issues with security. We're doing our best to rectify that. Shelley's been working diligently with, excuse me, Aaron and Mike at North American Security. There will be a meeting this week. This is There will be a meeting this week, and if you have any concerns, bring them up to me or bring them up to Shelley, and we'll address it with the owners of the security firm. I think that Brittany's doing a great job over as replacing Ryan. She's doing a great job, but she's only one person, and we have two constantly changing out. So it's a constant training the new people and getting them to know what we're looking for exactly. I think it will help a lot with the new club owners coming in, the leasees coming in and taking over. That will help a lot with keeping this place secured. But as far as like daily routine of the pool, I know that's been a little bit lax. I have seen a lot more smiling and waving because I've had a rental car and I've had to come through the front gate, and they've been very, very nice. So I have seen that take place. But things that we should not do is pull a trailer through the north gate. You know, that's not allowed. Having a trailer in here, you have to have a variance. Having a pod in here, you have to put it on your driveway. It should be in the street. You need to go to the office for those things. You cannot go up to security. And really, no resident should be up yelling at security or giving them instructions. If you have a concern, please bring it to Shelley, bring it to the HOA office, bring it to Greg, bring it to myself, I'm the liaison of security, and let us handle it. We will be more than happy to help you. You can call me anytime, I'm available, but please, please do not go up and scream at security or block the lane and take matters in your own hands, because that's not what this community's about. We're all here to help each other, and we're all here to follow the rules too. So this would help Shelley tremendously if you get the variance. You know you're gonna pack up probably a week out, so get the variance from the office, and then you won't have any issues, and everything can be avoided. So we just need your help with that. I think everyone knows the rules, and we've had a concern about maybe renters not knowing the rules, and we're looking at ways that we can make sure the homeowners that are renting out give those rules to the renters. So, but anything we can do to help you and help us, please let us know. We are having a meeting with them this week again, so if you have any questions or just comments, concerns, let us know ahead of time, and Shelley will address it with Mike and Aaron. So we want to save this company. We want them to stay focused on us. We hate to start all over again, obviously. But whatever we can do to make it better for you, for us, it would greatly help us. I'm going to go right into community events. We do have a Labor Day celebration coming up. We have a wonderful pool party. Again, it will be on Sunday from 2 to 8. There will be a DJ and a water slide. That's kind of our last big party prior to the new owners, I hate to say owners, but tenants taking over. So they'll have some great things coming up. We expect that they'll probably open up around October, somewhere in there. But they might be able to do something over Labor Day. We're not really sure. We have to kind of figure out where they are with their kitchen. So you'll have to probably plan on bringing your own food, your own drinks to the Labor Day party. But it'll be a lot of fun, and the events team is putting that on. And then the kids crew, they don't have anything planned until their camp out in November. And then in October, we plan our fall yard sale, community yard sale, and that is, right now we're looking at October 12th for that. Typically the hours are 8 to 12, but if you have any questions about that, let us know too, because I know some people wanted it extended over the past years, and maybe we can extend it an hour or so. But get with Shelley about that, and we'll figure that out too. And then I think we're on to roundtable, right? Yep.
Hello, everyone. Thanks everyone for coming. I want to really thank everyone for coming to the roundtables. We had a real productive roundtable last Tuesday. It's kind of an open agenda type thing. People come and express their concerns. I made a list of about 20 items, and we presented that to the board, so hopefully they covered most of these things, and we covered most of them. And anything that we didn't cover can be covered in this question and answer session we're about to have. And I don't know the future month of roundtable. We've got the election coming up. We do this to prepare the board for how the community feels, and that's the purpose for it. And anyway, I'd just like to I'll keep everybody attuned as to when we're gonna have the next one, because with the election coming up and things going on, we'll probably have one in September and go from there. And it'll probably be the second Tuesday of September. So I'll pass it on.
Thank you, Rick. All right, well, let's move on to old business. Last month, we had a fines policy that was presented to the board, and we had some questions. So we pushed that to this meeting. I think everyone has had, all the board members have had a chance to look at that. We talked about it. We kind of had all our questions answered by Shelley and our attorney and whoever else might need to answer those questions. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to approve the new fines policy. Do I have a second?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay, and,
I'll
well,
second
let me stop for a second. Let me stop. Is there any further discussion about the fines policy that we need to have right now? Is everybody's good? Okay, just wanted to make sure we were there. All right, so, yes, we got comments.
Some of the board members had some questions regarding the fining policy, and I was able to help them understand what was going on. And Shelley, please correct me if I'm wrong or misstate. But the attorney went through our current fine policies, and per law, we needed to have certain categories, so it was very easy to digest. That is what most of the work was about, and reviewing our current fine policies and putting it in a very nice, easy to read graph type format. For the most part, none of the fines were changed, with the exception of, what were they, Shelley, again? I'm
We
sorry.
didn't change anything.
We added a couple things, right? And they were what?
The short-term.
Short-term rentals, some fines regarding short-term rentals was one.
Striking the gate.
And then striking the gates. We've had a lot of folks rushing the gates, and those gates coming down, so Chuck and security and a few other folks seems like constantly trying to get those things back. So we now have the ability to fine when we have folks that, per the videos of security cameras and what have you, we can prove that there was some breach, if you will, due to vehicle owner or driver error. So those are the two changes to the fine. So really not a whole lot of changes. I know there was a question last year and some concern that we were increasing the fines or other things, but really for the most part, they remain changed. It's just a format look here change, which will be posted with the city, correct, or a county?
County clerk? Yeah, so these will be by law posted with the county clerk or registered with the county clerk. All right, well, thank you for that summary. That was excellent. So yeah, there's not a whole lot of changes, but we can now find people who don't do their short-term rentals correctly, and anybody that runs into the gate, any of the gates, that seems, it just boggles my mind, actually, how many times we run into those gates. They're pretty easy to use. I'm not sure how this all happens, but, I mean, I think some people think that, the car in front of them goes through and it's all, while it's up, hey, I can go too. It's like, one car at a time, just so everyone knows, one car at a time. Okay, so now, do we have a motion to approve the new fining policy?
I'll make the motion.
Jennifer makes the motion,
I'll second it.
and Rick seconds. All in favor? Aye, all right, we have a new fining policy. No new business on the agenda, so I'd like to adjourn the meeting and start the owner forum and questions and answers. One thing, yeah, I guess I can't
Make
just
the motion to
unilaterally.
adjourn.
I second.
I'm ready, man. Let's go. We have a motion and a second?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All in favor to adjourn? We are adjourned. Okay, cool.
Hey, I just want to mention, Joe has the golf cart down here, so anybody that needs to ride back up to your cart, he'll give you a ride. If you want.
Thank you.
Joe's the guy. Look at him. He's so happy. Now, hold on.
You ride to the parking lot to your car.
Before we start the forum, I'd like to say a few words. I want to remind everyone that the people sitting up here, the 7 people on your board, they're working their ass off for you, okay? We're all volunteers. We work our butts off. And these owners forums can turn into kind of a nasty bit of business. And there's a lot of disrespect and a lot of rude behavior, I would say, and that's really not appropriate. And we don't do this so that we can be verbally abused. We do this to help the community. So what I'm asking is, in these forums, please be civil, be respectful, and give us constructive feedback. This is a discussion to help us make the community better. So that's what I wanted to say. It's no fun being up here and being attacked, being verbally attacked, okay? And that's not what this forum is all about. This forum is for us to have a discussion to come up with ideas that can make the community better. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. Yes, Jim?
I got a
Shelley, you wanna?
I got a couple questions about the gate. If somebody, oh, okay, great. If somebody hits the gate, if somebody hits the gate, will we be looking for them to pay us to repair it plus the fine for hitting it? Or will it be only the cost to repair it?
No, it'll be, if they hit the gate
Right.
and there's no damage, we'll still fine them.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
So
You can't hit the gate.
Okay, so if they hit the gate damage, we'll fine them a specific amount plus repairs.
I don't know what that policy is actually. Is it fine and repairs, or is it just the repairs if they actually do damage?
I think that they have to pay up to whatever the
The-
repairs are.
Just, so if there are damages, then they pay for the damages. If there's no damages, they pay the
I'll
fine.
have to confirm.
I don't know if
exactly
we
what
add the
that
fine
is.
to
Right.
the damages
I
or
don't know
not.
either.
I'm not
I'll
sure what
confirm
that
it.
policy
Right.
is exactly. So right now, it's 0 if there's no damages. So that's kind of the idea. It's like, we want to discourage people from hitting the gate. Because some people know that it's a breakaway gate, so that arm can be knocked off and they can just put it back on. And that, it actually does cost us because we have to have people go over there and do stuff, right? So
And it's a cost to the community because it breaks it down. So we have to shut down the
right,
gate.
and the more it gets hit, at some point it is going to break, right? So we wanted to discourage all knocking off of the gate at any time.
That makes sense. The other thing I wanted to ask is, do we have up-to-date information on the gate was hit just a week or two ago, and I think it was captured on tape? Did somebody admit breaking it and pay for it yet?
I don't know what the status of that is.
It's not broken. It
Oh,
was
it's
not
not?
broken. No.
Yeah,
Were they
so it
alerted?
got
Were they alerted?
reinstalled,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
And I don't think, so we don't,
They were alerted.
Okay, so
It's
that
not
they should get a
broken.
fine, but no
We
damage.
can't-
well, we don't have that fining policy yet.
Oh, I see,
We
okay.
just, we don't have that fining policy in place yet. We can't discuss
Okay.
who gets fined or if someone's getting fined or anything like that.
Okay.
But yeah, as soon as that gets registered with the county clerk, then.
Turn that off.
Wake up, Jim.
I know, it's a phone call. Okay, different subject. How about the reserve study? I know that we were told it was started a while back. Did we start a brand new reserve study, or are we just adding on to that one? And
Well,
what is the cost?
yes and yes, yes and no, I don't know, yeah, the reserve study we approved is with the same company that did the previous one that didn't get finished, but it's been so long that it will kind of essentially be a full new reserve study. They still have all of the stuff they did before, so they kind of have a head start, if you will,
Okay.
but
Now, will they charge us, is there a basic charge up front? Will there be a yearly charge after that?
it's a one-time charge, and it's all in, everything's included, and it's $6,250.
Okay.
So it's not terribly expensive, and it's critical information for an HOA.
Okay, thank you.
You can relinquish that microphone to the next question.
Back here, yeah. Roy Kuipers, 5418. I know at the last meeting upstairs here at the club, we talked about the grading of the properties around the tennis courts, getting the drainage all straightened out. What is the status on that? And I know on YouTube there's been Sprinkmeister, Mr. Morrison over there, has taken a bunch of videos around the property. And yes, there's been a lot of erosion over the years. A lot of erosion around the cabanas, adjacent to the Yacht Club Drive coming down the hill. None of that has ever been addressed in the last 20 years. We've gone through and fixed the sidewalks. but we've never addressed the drainage underneath the sidewalks. There is filled in with dirt and gravel and so forth. I mean, there used to be pipes under the sidewalk that allowed the drainage to go all the way to the bottom of the hill. Right now, it all runs over top of the sidewalks, and we keep causing more problems. At the cabanas on top of the hill, all the drainage is going over their walls, through their walls, not down any kind of drainage, and it's destroying courts 6 and 7. Again, this is going to be the third time we're going to have to do maybe the fourth time, I think, in my time here in Chandlers, that we're going to have to redo the foundation around courts 6 and 7, all because of the drainage that's not taken care of by the cabanas. And yet I don't know whose responsibility it is, whether it's the community. Have we done any studies on who's responsible for the drainage that's coming off of that road in front of the cabanas, and so forth? And then getting the drainage fixed alongside the hill so that it's not running over top of the sidewalks and destroying what we just fixed in the way of the sidewalks. Enough of that one. Then the next questions I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the irrigation around the community. What's the status on the irrigation here on this property, where we have a nice pump house on the waterfront? It has been out of service since we fixed the yard next door. Why aren't we using it? I'm assuming we're probably still paying the yearly fee of whatever it is now, $200, to use the lake water, but we're not utilizing it. And I don't even know if we're sprinkling the yards. What do we need to do to make that happen? Do we need help? Do we need to bring in some people that have seen it in operation, know where it all is? I know Chuck knows part of it, okay, but things have been moved. Why aren't we turning that on? We're talking about brown grass and so forth this time of the year. We should be utilizing that rather than hoses and so forth using city water. Okay, I just want to get that on the record somehow. If there's anything I can do to help, I'll gladly help while I'm still here. And just so you all know, I'm planning on moving here in the near future, so any help I can do, I'll do while I'm here. Once I'm gone, a lot of that history goes away, and that's 40 years worth of history here in the community. And I used to be very active here at the Yacht Club, member of the Board of Governors here at the Yacht Club for over 15 years. So I know a lot of the goings on. So please ask me questions before I get out of here. Okay? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, we need people with knowledge like that to help us fix the problems that are out there. Some of us, I've only been here for 2.5 years, so
Okay.
I don't know that history, and I don't know, where we were.
Dallas owns the water.
Right.
We had-
Dallas
we had
owns the
we
water,
had
but
a stumbling block with the city of Dallas.
we
to
have
pump
a-
the
Hold
water.
on. Let's take his questions in order.
There's a lease agreement that you can have with the city of Dallas to pump the water out. We had that for many, many years. I'm assuming it's probably buried in our accounting statement somewhere that we pay for that every single year. I do not know. I have not gone and looked. But we should check into that.
Let me speak to this because I do know a little bit about it. I was very concerned that last year I saw a residential type sprinkler down there watering. I thought that was ridiculous. But apparently what happened, and I've seen some of the documentation and talked to Kristen, who was also helping, I believe, the President, Chip Emery, or the Vice President at that time. He actually put an application into City of Dallas because we were fined for not having the appropriate documentation for the pump. So the pump was taken out of service, from my understanding, because of the fine, and Chip actually did fill out an application and sent it in with the fee, $500 and some bucks or something like this. For some reason, when I questioned it early in the year, City of Dallas never got that, or they just didn't process it. We had an outstanding check for the $500. So nothing, unfortunately, really got done. After that, Chuck and I and Rick, I believe Jennifer, possibly, I asked Chuck what the situation was down there, and what he had told me was there's actually a valve that, and I wanted to find out why our guys were hand watering all the plants up front with hoses. And I said, do we not have sprinklers? Well, we do have sprinklers, and there's sprinklers on the lawn out here. However, when the wall was built, somehow the valve that switches from the lake water pump to the fresh water from the city of Rockfall disappeared. Now, disappeared is my word, meaning they're not sure where it was. So I put some money in the budget to find the valve, so at a very minimum, we could switch it from the pump, which is, we were gonna, and I believe Kristen and I told her to get a hold of the city of Dallas, because why would we pay for city water when we could spend $250 or $400 a year for lake water? So, lost my train of thought, I'm sorry. Chuck and I and Jennifer, I think Jennifer, you were there, and Rick went and tried to find this valve. Well, we couldn't find it, so we got a couple quotes to locate the valve. And that's kind of where we stand right now. We've not submitted a new application to City of Dallas yet, and we've not paid anyone to find the valve. Now, being the person that I am, it really irks me that we have to pay somebody to stand out and water. I thought that was ridiculous. We're paying for overtime. They're not able to do their other work when they're doing this. So it was a high priority for me. Now, when we were going through the negotiations with the new restaurateur, I sort of dropped the ball, and the reason is they said that they want to possibly do something else with that lawn. And I thought, well, I don't know that we want to spend the money until we're fully sure what the plan is, whether they're going to need sprinklers, what kind of sprinklers, what kind of water, what's going to be out front. So that's where we're at with it. I'm still very interested in getting that irrigation up front, out here. We've gotten a couple bids, but I don't believe they're thorough bids, and it's only one bid to locate and to put some sprinklers in. And one of the options is to, rather than spend money trying to find the old thing, is just reroute it, which is, in my opinion, the smartest way to go at this point. Once we know what we need, just pretend like we don't even know where the other stuff is, because we really don't. So I don't know if that's the best answer, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Chuck probably is the one that we need to get some updated information on.
If I can help Chuck in any way, have him give me a call. He has my number.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we have something going on with that.
Yeah, and you know, there's things happening all the time that, you know, we don't make daily updates to the community, so we're working on all this stuff. That's really part of a larger deferred maintenance question too. We talked about reserves earlier today, and we don't have anywhere near the kind of money we need to have in our reserve account, so we're very cautious spending money. And so we've got a status, we know kind of the direction we want to go. As the board can prioritize the things that are the most important to do, we'll start getting those things done. Your other question, again, is a deferred maintenance kind of question. Oh, hey, it's like everyone that asks a question has a phone ring.
I thought I'd do this.
Important people.
That's awesome. So again, the tennis court stuff is a kind of part of that discussion too. And hasn't been taken care of. It probably should have been taken care of earlier and taken care of in a better way, as you suggested. And no, but it's an ongoing problem. We've had to repair the 6 and 7 drainage more than once. So, you know, again, that's part of that conversation. And we're really trying to get our arms around how much money do we have? What are the projects that need to get done? How do we prioritize those things so that we're, making those things happen? You'll start to see the progress. One of the things that's on that list, if you will, is the yacht club parking lot. When Rockwell Hospitality opens a restaurant here, there's going to be a whole bunch of people walking through that parking lot. Right now, that parking lot has holes in it, and it's all messed up, and there's some serious liability there for people twisting ankles, breaking ankles, falling down, hurting themselves, etc. So that's pretty high on the list. The tennis stuff is high on the list too, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying we have to make those decisions, in a responsible way so that we do the right things at the right time and get our way through that list as fast as we can.
Okay, and the other part of that, talking about trying to save money, we have lots of talent in this community, lots of talent that are willing to volunteer many hours, such as with the landscaping and grading and so forth. And I know one gentleman there on the board, Mr. Morrison, does that work. And I'm pretty sure he's willing to volunteer some of his time. I'm willing to volunteer some of the time. Why don't we put a feeler to see if we can get a subcommittee like I did with the Marina project a couple of years ago? Get a subcommittee together, see if we can get a bunch of volunteers to do some of this work. We've got lots of engineers in the community. They can probably suggest things for the drainage. I'm sure we have some landscaping people that know some of this too. Why don't we get a subcommittee together to make this happen? It shouldn't be all you on the board's responsibility to do all the work. Appoint somebody to a subcommittee, let them pull on a bunch of volunteers, ask for volunteers, get it going. Don't
That's a
hurt
great
yourselves.
idea, and actually, we're doing that with the security. We know that we need better camera coverage, and so we have a task force for security. I think that's a great idea to do a tennis drain, or I don't know what
Whatever,
what you
just
would
ground
call it,
maintenance,
but great
whatever.
idea. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll
You've got all these different options
Yeah,
here for the
let's-
sprinklers and
Let's
whatever.
tap into the talent in the community, absolutely. And then that recommendation comes back to the board. It's like, this is the best thing to do. Well, that's been vetted by all the,
Mhm.
experienced, talented people in the community. And, then the board, it makes the board's decision easier too. So that's a great idea.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So hopefully some ideas are flowing at this point then. Thank you
Yes,
for your
sir.
time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who
Thank
next?
you. Jim Brewer's got a question.
Jim Brewer, 420 Columbia Drive. I want to dovetail on that, Roy, if I
Okay,
can.
please do.
Would you take the opportunity to share with the community what the committee structure looks like, where additional resources might be helpful on that community? Because I think that's what we do. I think we pitch in. It's our community, it's not just the board's community.
Yeah, so the committee structure, is that what I heard you ask
Yes,
about?
please.
Committee structure. So we have standing committees, events committee, kids committee, those sorts of things. And those are created by the board, and they're standing committees. And the members of those committees are appointed by the president, actually. I haven't appointed any, I've appointed one person, but I've left that alone since I've been asked to be president, just because it seems to be working. Those committees all work together. The members of the committees have been working together, so I haven't, if it ain't broke, don't fix it sort of thing. If we wanted to create a committee, the board would have to do that and appoint members to that committee, and then that committee would be permanent until we dissolved it. If you recall, I don't know if it was when we were appointed last June or if it was after the election, but we did dissolve 3 or 4 committees. I think it was after the election, yeah. So we did dissolve. So that's kind of how that committee stuff works. Now, we also, as I mentioned earlier, have a task force that it's really kind of unofficial, but I asked Rick and Seth and Mike Van Hooser to look into a kind of comprehensive security picture for the community, starting with the cameras around here, because we have people sneaking into the pools at night, and we had some steps that got broken, and we didn't have good footage of that. So, and our gate system is kind of old, and we need cameras to log license plates and all that stuff. So we felt like we needed to have a security committee to look into all that. So that's what they're doing. But I really like the idea that you proposed, that let's make another task force, if you will, of people in the community that have the experience and the talent to solve problems like the drainage around 6 and 7, 10 square 6 and 7. So yes, I mean, that's kind of the hierarchy, if you will. It's the board and the committees, and then any of those task forces that are out there kind of feeding information back up through the committees or to the board itself. Every committee also has a board liaison. So there is a board member responsible for communicating, being the conduit, if you will, of communication between that committee and the board.
Greg, would you list the boards that are officially part of Chandler right now?
The committees?
Uh-huh.
There is a list. I believe it's on the website, and it might be on Town Square as well. And, yeah, and so we can make sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know them off the top of my head. I know there's
It has the
8 or 10 of them.
liaisons and the people underneath, all the people that are on it.
Yeah, there's a listing of the committees with the
My bad.
liaison. I can't promise it's all completely up to date online, but it's,
Each committee has a GL code.
it's in our budget.
So let me tell you what we have. We have the 50-year celebration, which I assume is done, or will be this year. Chandler's Cares Committee, an Events Committee, a Ponds Committee, Kids Committee, Yard of the Month Committee, and a Fireworks Committee currently. We also have a Finance Committee.
And building
That-
committee.
It's not an actual committee, a building committee.
No building committee.
That, because I had to submit plans and things when I
Oh,
was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
ACC.
Oh,
I'm
the
sorry,
ACC.
right, the architectural
Yeah.
committee, obviously.
It was
Yes.
EC,
Yeah,
now
that's-
it's ACC.
That was-
That's a mandated by law committee.
Right, the architectural committee and the finance committee don't have any budget dollars, so that's
Yeah.
why it's not on this channel.
Is there or
Thank
is
you.
there not a tennis committee?
I don't think there's a tennis committee.
How does that filter in though? They have a tennis committee, so
Yeah.
how does that
But they're
filter into the
separate.
committee?
So
They-
the tennis-
They work amongst themselves and work with us.
Yeah, the Chandlers Tennis Committee has they run their own, they're basically leasing the tennis courts, right? So they have their own committee that takes care of their business, and Rick is the liaison with that committee, but it's not an official board committee.
Those are the ones.
All right. Anybody? Back in the back. Al?
Speaking of the tennis committee,
Hey, I'm Al back here, 632 Courageous, and I'm on the tennis board, so to speak, and Rick and I have communicated back and forth continuously over the past 6-8 weeks, and it's confusing to us why you guys are supposedly discussing this matter over and over, but there's been no advance of the issue to a resolution. We proposed and presented bids by at least 2 contractors to do the work around the tennis courts 6 and 7, which are at the top of the hill up here. And when it rains a lot, water collects on the east side of that court. And according to the engineering study that we paid $8,000 for, the water seeps under the court and comes up through it, through the cracks in the surface. So anyway, we presented these 2 estimates, and then Seth, in his wisdom, got his daddy to come look at the issue, and he's not an engineer, but he's supposedly an expert in drainage, and he says, well, the issue can be resolved by grading. Well, that's fine, grade the damn thing, and Rick has gotten an estimate or opinion from a rental company to lease a grader to potentially grade the area. Rick knows how to use the grader, I don't. But we can, you can rent a grader for a month for, I forget what it is, $2,800, $3,500, something like that, which is a lot less than $24,000 or $39,000, which will, it might address the problem around 6 and 7. And we, believe it or not, not we, the community has a problem with drainage down the hill from 6 and 7, which the water ends up along the areas around courts 2 and 3. Well, they haven't been damaged yet per se, but there's a hell of a lot of water that comes down the hill where the sidewalks used to be. And Rick was kind enough to remove the sidewalks, which was a hazard to anybody that was walking along there. Hell, they could fall in there. Once the sidewalks were removed, and Rick's put this video online so you can see for yourself, it was like a depth of, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 feet underneath the sidewalks that had washed out from erosion over the years. So what I'm saying is the community has a serious drainage issue, and the longer we just talk about it and fiddle fart around about it, the worse it's going to get. So we would like to know what your discussions are and what's your plan, if any, to do anything about it. And by the way, we live over here, and we have a pump that pumps water out of the lake. We pay $100 a year to the city of Dallas for a, quote, take line lease, and our water bill's $95 a month. Unfortunately, our damn pipe broke, and we had to pay to have the pipe redone and whatever. But anyway, we get our water out of the lake, and I don't know why the club couldn't do the same thing. Even if it's $500 a year, we've got a lot of landscaping that could be and needs to be watered. And if if the Rockwall Hospitality Group's gonna remove this grass over here, we need to say, well, we have a hell of a lot of places around this club that need grass and that need to be watered. So that's my input.
Thank you, Al. I promise you, we're not fiddle farting around. The status of all this is that, yes, Seth did bring his father in, who's been doing drainage around swimming pools for 40, 50 years. And that was one opinion. The folks that Rockwall Hospitality uses to do their dirt work, which they're going to do some around here, I talked to them, brought them over there to look at it, and they had some ideas about how to make that drainage better too. So I'll actually be meeting with them again Monday to get a proposal from them. So we're moving forward. It's just the speed that boards move at is a lot slower than speeds individuals move at. We all have to kind of be aware of what's going on. You know, we have to get multiple bids. We don't know what the right thing to do there is, but again, it's part of that deferred maintenance discussion. As you suggested, we have drainage up above, we have drainage coming down to 2 and 3. There's a lot of things to consider. It's not just put a Band-Aid on 6 and 7 and then have, hope it works, so. Yeah, well, yeah, and exactly, there's different ways to fix that problem. So we are really earnestly looking into this, and we're not fiddle farting around, I promise.
Excuse my language.
Yeah, you could have said other things, but you kept it, PG-13. James.
Yeah, just looking at the tennis situation, Alpha Testing is a soil engineering company. They're not a civil drainage company. And I've been in earthwork for decades.
Who's Alpha Testing?
That's
The engineering company that
Oh,
did
that's-
the
okay.
study for us.
Okay.
Right, and I read
know
the
study, I
report.
didn't remember the name.
I read the report, and the problem is you can fix all of that lower level, make it look pretty and graded, but you're not addressing the problem that's 15 foot up the hill.
That's what the guy that I had come out and look, he said, well, I would do it this way, and he mentioned how he would change the way the drainage comes off of that hill.
Right, because you got.
So that's the kind of input the board needs to kind of understand the larger issue, if there is one.
Correct, and you have failing retaining walls. You have tremendous overgrowth that will not support vegetation, which is key in keeping soil erosion.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be maybe employ a engineering firm to come in and give a comprehensive study and take it one step at a time, as it's affordable through the board.
Saying, here's the big picture, but we'll do 6 and 7 as part of the bigger picture.
Here's what we
That's
need
a great
fixed
idea.
first, because I'm not sure, Ray, those courts that had all those shrubbery on top where you wrecked the sidewalk,
Yeah.
what courts are those?
4 and 5.
4 and 5, I invite you to go walk and look at that, because that slope going down to 4 and 5 is a water carrying.
It's a mess over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, this is 20 years of deferred maintenance.
Absolutely.
So-
Well, and-
And all those retaining walls, you're right, those things are starting to come down. I mean, it's not gonna be, it's gonna be expensive to make all these fixes, and again, we gotta kind of prioritize as best we can.
Is there budget money every year for retaining walls? I don't know your annual budget.
Do we specify retaining walls? I
Not
don't,
beyond this year.
so there was retaining wall budget this year?
Well, I think I called it erosion control.
Okay. Yeah, so
It was not a lot of money.
we thought about it, in this year's budget.
Well, it's gonna be costly, you can write that down.
No doubt.
But I think as we get RHG in here, and their vision for this 501 Yacht Club, we gotta match it. We have to match it as community, for as the aesthetic look, coming down that drive. Guys, we got a gold mine here with them, and we've got a hell of a community here. I think a lot of it, the tennis group, they've been very supportive, and I think they're really gonna support, Rockball hospitality, and let's make Chandler's pretty again, you know?
Thank you, James. Hey, James, what are you doing Monday morning at 10?
I'm busy.
I'm serious.
No, I-
That's when I'm meeting with the dirt guys over here.
Okay, I'll be.
Okay. And I don't know your name, but you're invited too, if you'd like to.
Roy Kuipers.
Roy?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I'll just talk loudly. In reference to what Andrea was saying about not moving forward with getting the systems fixed to water either from the lake or in water or whatever, the trend has been and continues to be towards zero-scaping. And with Rockwall, this is a great thing in the early days of Rockwall hospitality to say, where are you go? What's your concept? Is it going to be as more of a zero-scape, money-saving, eventually money-saving prospect? And maybe they have some idea right off the top of their heads and right at the early stages to guide us in that way. And so we won't make mistakes as far as throwing money away on something that we're going to change anyway. But I mean, there's just some beautiful landscaping there with some the river rocks and the dry river beds and the gravel. So I love that we can maybe hold off long enough to.
That's a great suggestion. The idea is rather than pay a bunch of money to get sprinkler systems reinstalled and lake water and all that stuff, why not just do xeriscaping and have a landscape that never needs to be watered? Or the rain that falls is enough. So that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yes, sir. One quick question to follow up on what we were talking about from Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Can you get a plat of the property lines and so forth for that meeting on Monday? So that when you do walk around the property, we know what property belongs to the community versus what belongs to the cabanas or to that HOA portion of their
Surely we can. I don't know who to ask.
Regrid.com.
Regrid?
Free app on your phone. It shows all the property lines.
Okay. All right. And the Rockwall CAD has property lines on
Yeah,
there
but
too.
the office should also have plats of the property too.
Shelley? He suggested the office should have a plat
All
of
these
all
big file
property lines
folders
here.
full of it for
If you could
years.
just look.
We do have quite a lot.
Okay, we'll yeah.
Just to print a
And
piece
is
of
that,
paper or whatever.
that's Cutter Hill above 6 and 7, right?
Yes.
I can.
So we're trying to-
You were first. Save that as a file.
Just one question, this is Kathy Langer, 606 Suffrage, about communication, and I'm wondering, as an individual, is it better for me to go to Town Square or the website to find out what is going on? Because I find Town Square doesn't give very much information. So
Yeah, well, I guess I would say Town Square's better than the website. Town Square is where the announcements get made.
I don't go to the website.
Yeah, Town Square is where announcements get made. But what kind of information are you looking
Well, how
for?
many people in the community are using Town Square? I mean, how is your information getting to them if they are on Town Square? And I had asked this a couple of months ago, how many people were actually using Town Square?
Do you know how many users there are on Town Square?
Well, that's what
Do we
you
know how
said
many users?
3 months ago, we're working on it, and
Well, everyone in the community has the opportunity to sign up on Town Square, so if they haven't signed up, then they haven't signed up, right?
I just wonder how many are, and so.
A couple of years ago, it was around 900 people that had accounts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fair percentage, it's not everybody though. And if you didn't sign up for Town Square and you just want to read the marquees on the way in, then that's cool too. I mean, we try to put information out there in different ways. But yeah, it's more than half of the community, I believe, that's using Town Square.
Okay, that's what I wondered.
For your statements.
Kathy, another Kathy.
To go along with what Kathy Hovey at 110 Clipper, with what Roy mentioned, which is great about getting the plats of where you know, what belongs to Chandlers and what belongs to the property. Because I see within just a few streets around me, people with their sprinkler systems, and they're literally watering the road, and that washes down. So, I mean, I know we get fines for trash cans that are sticking out, but do we have people making observations about, you know, some of the drainage issues that should be the responsibility of the property owner? For example, when we moved in, we're like at the bottom of a step of houses that are, you know, higher than we are. Well, whenever it would rain, we would have water swooshing down and into our pool where it looked like a lake. It was our responsibility to fix that. So we put in the drainage system that we have now to alleviate that, and make sure it was all going in the correct direction. But I mean, you can just drive around the neighborhood and look at some of the issues that we have as far as drainage that should be the responsibility of the individual homeowner to take care of it. So I totally agree with you to make sure that we have, you know, that plat information, and if we can enforce it, is that something we can, you know?
Yeah, well, there are several issues going on right now because of all the stuff that happened this spring that we're seriously looking into where all those property lines are, what the law says about who's responsible for what, et cetera. So we actually do have a law firm that's working on some of these problems right now. So yeah, we've hired experts.
Okay, and
Right, yeah.
it was just pointed out to me this Regrid software or app on the phone. I was just looking at the property where I think you guys mentioned that Rick had torn out the sidewalk. Well, from what I see on this property map, those sidewalks belong to the cabanas, not to the community. So
But there are hazards because the tennis people are in and out.
Understand, but why aren't we firing back at those cabana owners to make sure that happens?
Let me borrow that. Explain. Those are match point condos around there, that property. Once upon a time, that was a apartment committee, like a homeowners association in there. That committee or that homeowners association disbanded. And it disbanded and it was approved by one of our boards here for the disbandment. And now each one of those units is individually owned. And who owns the property?
Well, it looks like the property maps show that it belongs to each of those units. You know,
But that's a big property around the building itself. And there is some of it, but not all of that. Not all of that property you're talking about is owned by each one of those individuals.
well, then I think we need to get clarification as far as the community goes to get, so again, we're talking about getting that subcommittee together again. Let's make that as a task for that subcommittee to clarify.
Yeah, I agree with you, Roy. We really need to be speaking with each one of those unit owners.
Yep.
And each one of those owners are basically responsible for that tall retainage wall by property line. Because that wall is coming on our side now, it's about probably 1.5 feet, 2 foot onto our property.
It's
Because
probably
it's coming
affecting their
over on
foundations.
the tennis courts 2 and 3. And we had to get that sidewalk was a stair-step concrete sidewalk, and because the area that eroded out from under it, the sidewalk just dropped. And when it did, it did all kinds of turning and everything, and that's where the hazard was. People couldn't walk on top of it, and then, you know, little kids get out there and they play. They like to tunnel and stuff. I remember when I was a kid, we like to tunnel. So you don't want to get
Another suggestion to gather information regarding that might be to talk to Rhonda Trotter, since she does a lot of property management over there in Cutter
Yeah,
Hill.
she's the one that told me about the disbandment.
Okay, but she
She's
might
on
be able
your
to.
board, right?
Yes.
I don't
Not
know.
that
No,
one.
she's on
Rhonda
Different
Trotter.
buildings.
She's Cutter Hill.
Okay.
Hey, Rick, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you did.
Not a
as far as
problem.
fixing- Thank you.
That's what I do.
James, I don't know if a lot of the board members are aware, but back when you start coming off the dock, you know, if you're looking at the back dock, you got your
Kitchen.
transformers over there, you got your compressors for the refrigeration. But if you start going down that hill like you're trying to get out, this bottom over here,
Around to the
oh,
event
it's,
lawn?
oh, there's sidewalks that are like this.
Yeah, you're right.
You're
right.
That's
Well,
a liability.
I
waiting
mean, the
to
good
happen.
news, bad news is Rockwall Hospitality now owns that. That's part of their, well, but it's in their
It's adjacent to the
They own the
building.
lawn.
That's their limits of
It's inside the
liability.
perimeter that we negotiated, if you will.
That's their liability now, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're responsible for structural, I don't know, we'll make sure that,
'Cause it's
that's good,
dangerous.
I didn't even think about that, but I'm sure they'll probably mention it too. But yeah,
It's bad.
those stairs are all like this, yeah. So yeah, and they're really easy to work with, these guys are great, so, there's actually this doorway up here, coming off of the parking lot that runs down the side of the building up this level, up this doorway here. I don't even know how it got installed. I mean, James is like, can I show you something? And he's like, yeah, there's no header and it's off, the frame is off, and it's just crazy. I'm like, how did that even? He's like, I can't believe I didn't see this before we negotiated the contract, because I would have said something. But yeah, so they're really easy to work with, and those are the kind of things that we'll work with them on and make sure, they get taken care of the right way. Yes, ma'am.
Deborah Morrison, 436 Columbia. I wanted to thank Jennifer, who government maintenance, because they have come and tried to clean out some of the beds. I appreciate that so much. And he said he's going to be back to do more. Do we have a truck? Because I know we used to have a truck that had the big water tank on it, and they would water the beds that weren't sprinkled.
They said they've been watering. I even had to
They've
mark,
not.
well,
Not in front of my house. Not the other one.
the island.
The island, yes,
Okay.
there's an island there, and
Well, I'll let him know.
thank you.
Because he says he's been watering, but I'll make
Pretty
sure.
soon it is gonna be totally airless.
Okay.
Everything's gonna totally dry.
There's some candidates for Sarah State there.
Yeah.
Linda.
I've got 5102 Yacht Club. Couple little things. First of all, I never heard a date for Meet the Candidates. Meet the Candidates.
Oh, yeah, because I don't think we've set one for meet
We
the
haven't set it
candidates,
yet,
because usually we wait till everyone's submitted, and then also we wanna make sure every candidate can be there, so we need to say, hey, does this date work for all of you? Because we can't just set a date and then say half of them can't go, that's
Well,
not gonna be
That's the
really.
thing, and I know a couple of people that maybe need to go out of state. One needs to
Yeah.
visit a sick friend.
Yeah, we're just trying to wait for them all to submit, and then when they do, we'll kind of get a collection of
Okay,
what the
well, I
best
was
date.
looking back in my records and I noticed there was one like mid-September before. So I
Mark
was
was
just
asking
kinda,
me, Mark was asking me for the newsletter, but we really couldn't come up with one until we have all the candidates.
We did talk about changing the format this time to where they'll get up and give their introduction and then go to separate tables where the residents can go up to the tables instead of having this open forum where we're reading off questions and not all your questions will get
more
answered.
informal.
So yeah, more informal. You can go to each candidate and ask them specific questions and spend more time. So it's not going to be, one question and people get a little emotional, Just a little bit.
I just have another little comment about the cell tower. We were driving home from Holly Lake last week, and I guess I really hadn't seen that many cell towers, but the one I saw was between like Edgewood and Grantland. It was close to the highway. It was atrocious. I mean, it goes up tall. There was a lot of equipment up, and then a lot of equipment down. And I really don't know where y'all would put that to where it wouldn't be unsightly. Have y'all thought about across the street around the cemetery, the soccer field? I mean, I honestly.
Some of us have,
We
yeah.
don't have, we don't have any problems.
Yeah, I know,
at
some
my
people
house.
don't, some people do.
But,
It's just-
and I want everybody to have,
Right,
that, but, I mean, it was atrocious looking.
yeah.
Footprints.
Well, we've looked at the different types of designs that can be, utilized for a cell tower.
Right.
The company that we're working with right now, this guy's been doing it for 20 or 30 years, and he says it's funny because the requests that we get for camouflaging cell towers, he said we'll do it. We'll recommend that because what's being proposed here is what's called a 100-foot monopole. It doesn't have guy wires, it's just a single pole that's the color of the sky, essentially. It's that galvanized gray that blends into the sky. There would be a fence around the equipment that matches our community aesthetic, if you will. That's actually required by law. So you wouldn't see anything on the ground level except a really nice looking fence. And the pole itself doesn't have any guy wires or anything, so it's just a gray pole that would blend in with the sky. He said when I have people ask me to do that camouflage, he said, we're happy to do it. But I tell them that every time we've ever done the camouflage, the community ends up hating it. It's more obtrusive than just having this muted gray poles, going up into the sky. So, yeah, we've looked at all of those different things in different locations. In fact, earlier when I said we've asked that cell tower company to propose some other locations that they know a cell tower could work, that's great. So they're coming back to us with that. One of the issues there is if we hope that someone else will do it, we have no idea when it'll ever happen, right? If we say, oh, we'll just put it in the soccer fields, that's a City of Rockwall thing, right? Well, they may not be willing to do it, first of all. Second of all, they have to use, there's what do they call it, offset setbacks. I can never remember that word, setbacks, that would require that pole to be 100 feet away from any houses, any property lines of houses, so it would end up being right in the middle of that soccer field. They'd have to get rid of the soccer fields, right? So there's not very many options for locations, but our cell tower company is looking into that for us, and hopefully we'll have something that will work. But I would rather be kind of in charge, if you will, and say, let's get this. If we sign up with the cell tower company, within 12 months or so, we'll have cell coverage, okay? If we say, not in my backyard, it might be 5 years. We don't know how that would ever happen and whose property it might go on and what kind of action they might take and how fast they would move and et cetera, et cetera. So it's to me, I would rather kind of us, the board be in control of that rather than hoping somebody else does it. Evan was first.
Okay. Madison 202 Gretel. Months ago, we spoke with the city manager about the cell tower, and their intent was for it to go in the southeast corner of the soccer fields. That backs up to the edge of the property, Ridge Road, and there's some duplexes along one street that goes down to the lake. That was the plan. And then what the city manager told us, Chandlers entered into the conversation, and so then they put their stuff on hold. So the plan was for it to be away from us. And then we're in it now, and so now it's kind of gotten confusing, and the city said, well, yeah, if you guys are gonna do it, just hold off. I agree with Linda that I definitely don't want something like that at the front. The best way to look at and get an idea of what that will look like is go by the fire station on Summer Lee. There's a tower over there, and that would be one of the worst statements of welcoming our neighbors home, having to drive by something like that right at the very front of our entrance. And people are on both sides of the safety danger side of things too. There's a ton of studies that show that if you're within a quarter of a mile, 1,200, 1,500 feet of that your cancer risks, because you're constantly in that, they increase about 3 to 4-fold. And so we would be perpetrating that onto our neighbors as well. And so for the safety of our neighbors and for the longevity of a beautiful entrance, I just implore you to choose wisely and do something that's thinking way forward and not just for the conveniences of technology, which honestly has its good things, but I think a lot of us can also see that the phone being in our face all the time is maybe not the best thing for humanity either. So and if we get the fiber optic side of things too that come into the neighborhood, there's little mini microcells that we could put in our houses. They could play off of that. They could also increase things. So there's lots of different things there, but yeah, that's what the city of Rockwall had said, that it was going to go in that back corner of the soccer fields, away from our neighborhood, but still usable for our neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any chance we could find a company that could combine a flagpole and tower? Just kidding. And you need to find a company that might be able to incorporate a tower into the flagpole. So then we have aesthetics and technology. I was just being silly. I was trying to add some levity to it.
If you were serious, I was like,
But
what
when
am I
we
saying
talk
now?
about ways of camouflaging it and whatever, in all seriousness, if you're talking about something that looks like a flagpole, I would have to, you know,
Yeah, no, yeah.
All of that has come up in our conversations with the cell tower company. So we're trying to work our way through that as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
Is there a time frame on the cell tower? Projected time frame that could happen with the resolution of the issues with terrible cell phone service? I mean, some of the things he said I resonate with, but as a realtor, I'm a realtor too, but I bring people into this community, and just last weekend I was showing homes, and it's hard to get in houses sometimes because it's a Wi-Fi signal that goes into the super box, and you can't get in, and then people are saying, I don't know if I want to move here, because the trend is, whether we like it or not, or worry about cancer or not, the world is moving in a direction where people work from home. And the whole 12 years I've lived here, I've always worked from home. I've had to forward my cell phone to my home phone, and it is a deterrent because it's just the world today. And I'm just curious about the time frame and
Yeah,
priority.
we don't have a specific, I mean, like I said, we know that from the cell tower company we're working with currently, they said best case 9 months from the day we kind of sign up, worst case probably 12 months, about a year, till we actually have service. So that's how long it would take. And I'm glad you made that point. I tried to make it earlier too. There's a property value issue here.
There is.
I tried to make the point to the board that if you think that people haven't come into this neighborhood looking at houses and realizing that they don't get any cell coverage,
Yeah.
and they just say no thank you,
I can't do that, yeah.
that you know that's affecting property values. So, and honestly, that is the only reason that HOAs exist. You might disagree, but that's the only reason HOAs exist, is to preserve and enhance your property values.
Okay, so I think it's very important to have a cell phone tower, but I don't think it needs to be on our land. And at this point, I'm not really for it, and I'm gonna tell you why. They want to propose to put that cell phone tower up by the front office. What if they put it in the middle of that land? Right in the smack middle of that front green
They
belt?
won't let us.
Well, you say that, but in order for them to start forward, he has to be approved. I'm not gonna approve when I know maybe a cell tower is gonna go right smack in the middle of that green belt. If it could be pushed over in that corner maybe, over by the road, behind the sign, I'll consider it. But at this point, we don't know where this cell tower will be in that front green belt. And so and then you gotta also think about it's a 60 by 60 area. Land costs a lot of money. I'm just not positive this is the only place in Rockwall that we have to put this cell tower. If I knew this was the only place, that's another thing I'll consider, but this is just my viewpoint.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow up. This summer, we helped an AT&T exec move into the area very high up. They bought a multi-million-dollar property. They were going towards one property. It was within a 1,200 foot linear site of the house. They did not buy that house specifically because what he knows about it, and they bought a totally separate house. So if a high up exec at AT&T understands this, I just want to make sure that we are on the same page and we also understand it, as far as like the danger that it can create. That is a legit thing that happened this summer to us.
Well, I can tell you that there's no science that shows anything causal of a cell tower.
There's been plenty of studies.
That is.
There may be some correlations, but correlations is not.
Okay, but all I'm saying, so I'm not going to go on that because I would disagree with you. But that said, we're talking about someone who is high up at a company that does wireless communication, and you would think he would know that that's not true or not. So there's just an example of something